Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Well, it's a question to do with the intellect and to do with the heart. In what I would call many so-called spiritual communities, or otherwise people who have, let's stay with the spiritual community, they will say, come from the heart, because that is the strongest field. And in attempting to teach some of these teachings that come from the Keshe Foundation and from your knowledge and from the greater collective knowledge about the location of the soul within the brain, these people who have learned a slightly different understanding have very great difficulty with the idea that the intellect and the soul in the brain could be more powerful, or could be perhaps that the soul could be within the structure of the brain. This is very difficult for them. And they say, no, come from the heart, forget what is in the brain. Can you speak to this and perhaps expand some knowledge in this area?
In what form?
Perhaps I want to know in which regard, how are the fields of the heart perceived to be so strong? Is it that it is the manifestation of two other fields, that the fields within the brain and the fields within the body, the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality, create the structure?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. One is tuning to the other and vice versa. This is what your cell says and say, my heart says don't do, because you receive the message through the soul. It's a translator, interpreter of the message. Understanding of the totality is the part that we say my heart says don't do. And where did the heart get the message from? Partially its own interaction with the fields of the matter state, and partially from the soul. So if the man never sleeps, the sun never stops shining. It's the man who is on the facing of the sun side of the earth, or on the back of it. It's then we receive the light of it in different strengths. It's the same with the soul of physicality. Very strange. Maybe in the future mankind will understand. I'm not a very good drawer. The soul of the man shines in all dimensions and directions. What happened when the sun shines on the left of your heart or the right of your heart? Would the position of the heart in respect to soul creates different fields interactions of different strength, that it creates different emotion within the man? Which part of the heart will receive air from the lungs first of the highest order and takes back from the other? The field interaction with the soul and the conversion of the fields at the heart, that's why we feel the emotion. We feel my heart doesn't work, because the sun sits above in the center of the brain. And now you have this rocking chair of heartbeat of the man in different positions continuously. Then you understand why man has a mixed motion and emotion. The sun, the soul, does not stop shining. It's the position of the heart which receives it. And then how you react. The blood flow is sporadic in the body of the man, in the circulation. It condenses in this area. So it has more possibility of interactions. As it gives, it receives. It's not a one-way traffic that we only receive. What emotion goes there, it feeds the soul, and the soul communicates with other souls. That's how your balance of your doing comes. And we see how things turn out. And we see how we feel the fields due to what we call, you got to understand something very simple. This goes back again to what I call science of physicality. You have the heart of the man. You have a blood circulation, which we call the dark blood, the oxygenated, and we have a blood which is oxygenated. Now we understand the blood of the man is a gans. Brings not only the blood, but with it brings the emotion of what the physicality has done. And every blood, when it comes into the heart of the man, like the way we have the liver, which we store from the blood surplus, the soul of the man has the same liver, memory bank. of whatever has been brought from the physical emotion. Then you have the source of life or the environment. And this comes with a different strength. We look at the physical condition in how much blood it goes. In the new knowledge, we look at how much fields it brings in and how much fields come with this one. The interaction of the fields between the two creates a new dimension, what we call the solar physicality. And this, in turn, interacts in the mixture of fields with the soul of man. The same as it gives, it takes. Exchange of information in the central bank, or most of it, because the rest of it, through the same blood flow, will go around the brain, the skull, and comes back. And it's very much what we never understood. Where does the gravity starts, and where does magnetic fields finishes? And this is, if you understand this, then you can do a lot in the future technology of understanding knowledge of creation to decide on the condition of the physicality of the man. These two have to work in unison to keep the soul and the physicality in all dimensions as a field, where the physicality is manifestation in interaction with the field of environment. Then, now you tell me, why do I feel that emotion in my heart? It's where the sun shines, interacts with totality of the field. Where here it collects in this circulation around the brain information only about physical interaction with the essence of the physical soul of the man in the heart. Now you understand. Then, if you understood this, Earth, Moon, Jupiter, planet Zeus, another galaxy, is how we allow this field interact with the field of the soul to lead to the, if decided, to creation of the dynamic physicality of the being. It's as simple as that. You convert this into the knowledge where the sun is the soul of the creator of the man. And then you have the soul of the man. It's the same. Then you understand the, what I call the soul of physicality. Then you see how the soul of the man, soul of physicality, connects through the soul of the creator. It's so simple. Next time when you feel in your heart, see if you can feel the emotion of the soul. And then that emotion of the soul, if you can feel it, then you decide, is it with the interaction of the soul of creator? Then you become aware of the knowledge of the universe, the creation.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 429th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 21st, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Raymond and I'll be a host today. And we are joined with Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, as usual in these weekly Knowledge Seekers Workshop presentations. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to start today's workshop?
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers programs from the Keshe Foundation, KF Space Institute, we are welcoming you back. And at the same time, we are here to do a lot of work and a lot of other new things needs to be done. Today, for the first time, through the Keshe Foundation work, we've been here for over live teaching 9 years, 10 years, and Keshe Foundation over 17 years in establishment. Keshe Foundation has never gone out to ask for donation or ask for people to support the Keshe Foundation for a project. People who are close to the Keshe Foundation know that we have endeavored to bring a massive change to the work of the Keshe Foundation internationally. And this work required huge financing in the background by the foundation. We have worked on this over 5 or 6 months. The funds has been raised more or less to the absolute limit. A number of knowledge seekers who are in the background know you've been with us solid trying to, and we have brought all the finances of Keshe Foundation to see this project to be completed. This project will bring some hundreds of new locations for use of the enhancement units, for water cleaning treatment and processing, for space lab launches, space centers, wellness centers, and the rest. To raise these kind of capital by the foundation is impossible. We had to go to bed with so many different people and wait for years and years. We have reached a point that we have raised these funds, and now we are in the last leg. We have to raise, literally we used all the resources we could do, to raise another 150,000 euro to complete the process. And with a discussion with the team of the Keshe Foundation, we have come to you. There's hundreds of thousands of you listening online. If you donate 10 euro or 100 euro or 1,000 euro, or put funds as lending to the Keshe Foundation to be returned to you, we need to raise this money today. Millions of dollars has been raised and paid for this process to be completed by tomorrow. But we are shortfall. If you have access or if you like to support Keshe Foundation, we are short just under $150,000 to complete. And we would not come to you in this way if we didn't need and we didn't have. You make the donations, or you can send $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, $10 as a loan, put it as a donation or loan to the foundation. And then in the process, we return back the loans, or we take foundation donation to go ahead. We need to raise this money today. And we've done everything around the foundation. Those are on the panel in the background. People listening in different channels know a number of Keshe Foundation top management team people have literally flown in different positions, have done a lot of work done to make sure this happens. This was supposed to happen last Monday, completed, but due to the lack of a large sum, which suddenly disappeared by somebody who was committed to us, we had to raise it in a short time. We raised most of it. It's about 150,000 left. And we would like to ask you as knowledge seekers, go on the donation panel. If you can send it directly to the Keshe Foundation account in Holland, help to bring the change. We have told you what is to come. This is all part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. I put it in different ways and different meanings. Keeping the technology out of the hand of the governments, out of the hand of institutes, out of people who control it, takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of work we've done in past years. Now we are in the same position. The funds we have raised will bring those changes without attachment. We signed agreements to this effect, and we need to keep that correct. We need to keep the foundation as one nation, detached to any organization, any government. We need you to be there today, not tomorrow, to help the foundation to bring that change. Every month we spend tens of thousands. All these things you see, even keeping this internet going a month costs about 30,000 euro for the foundation. We paid year in, year out, month in, month out. We need you to help, to donate, or to lend to the foundation today, that we can bring that change very soon. That waiting, the channel of time will be affected by the others and other conditions. We are there to do a lot of work and there to bring a lot of changes. And the capital we have raised, we have to pay for it to be done. And it is part of that expense. We pay for it to be done, the platform to be set up, to be able to do this. I know many of you have access to no funds, and many of you have access to a lot of funds. But you've been here for 10 years listening, or some years you've been listening. You have seen our work. If you don't like to pay for something which you don't get, buy a cup. You will consider what cup of life worth and donate to it. Pay if it says 50 euro, 100 euro, pay 10 euro. It doesn't make any difference, but we have to bring that change, and we left it to the last minute. One of our senior people in this part is already moved into Vienna. We are waiting for the other things to complete, and it has to be completed today, because we would have never come to you, as I said, if one of our people in the background would not have defaulted in what was put in. And it's so short that we could not wait without coming to you. The shortfall was much, much bigger. We have covered it with the support of the knowledge seekers and the Keshe Foundation funds, whatever it was there. Now we need to raise the senators, 50,000. If you want to pay for one enhancement unit for 150,000, which is for 1 million, we still accept as you get the product. But we need to raise it today. Pay into the Keshe Foundation bank account, as is an NGO, is a foundation account, and support us. Put it in there. I loan, I want it back. We will return it back to you. Many of you have supported us this way before. When we need, we go to selected people who we need in the Keshe Foundation to support us in different ways. And now this is the foundation which needs this money to be able to bring that change. Knowledge has been free, and sharing the knowledge has been free. Now we have to keep the application of the knowledge and technology free as well. And this is for that purpose. You don't see in any of the Keshe Foundation works, companies, any outsider except knowledge seekers as partners or people who run it. We want to keep it that way. And we want to bring the knowledge out. Everything is depending on what we are doing and what we have to do. Huge sum has been raised, and you will see its operation coming through once this is completed. I ask you as knowledge seekers to support today. We tell you how much we collected at the end of the day, and that will decide if we're going through, we can complete the agreement by tonight, or we have to step back. We have already committed all the resources of the Keshe Foundation, millions of dollars to get this done. And the setup is just holding back for such a small amount, which wasn't supposed to be, except by a defect by one of the, what they call, people who put the funds in for a purpose, and he changed his mind. We have raised most of it. We're short 150,000 euro. And I'll come to all of your knowledge because if you can afford 10,000, 20,000 as a loan, we are not asking for donation. You haven't bought or set up another church. If you feel you want to donate, donate. If you feel it to be a loan, make it a loan, and then we can complete today. I don't think the foundation will ever come to ask for donation or support in this way publicly. With what we set up, the foundation will become one of the most powerful structures on its own without depending on governments. We become, we set it up, is to become the bankers of our own finances through technology, and not to establish a government, but to establish one nation. We need these funds to be raised today. And we need to be completed today. You can make a donation on a PayPal, but we prefer you to make a direct transfer, because with the PayPal, we have to wait another 2 days to get it transferred to our accounts and then transfer it again. So if you make a payment directly to the Holland account as an NGO, we are a foundation, non-profit organization, and we can accept, you can just put out there, I'll loan you $100, I loan you 1,000, I donate you $1. All works. We need to raise this today. There's thousands of you online. And we have shared knowledge. We have shared everything with you. And we need to complete this as part of the structure of the setting up of one nation. And more or less, you are aware of what is to come. We announce more or less in the hidden ways the things to be set up to come, and it's sitting there to come. And we have had a day of 2 weeks with it, and today is our final day. We have to meet it today to complete. I don't preach, and I don't go, we have to bring the change, to set what we call a solid base for generations to come for the Keshe Foundation. Please look what you can do and how you can do it, but do it today. If you can do it even during the teaching. We need 150,000 euros. If it's 1,000 of you, you put $150, that is 10,000, 20,000 people live on the lines at the moment. Even if you pay $1, £10, $1.50, you just make it. I've done everything in my power and the financial power of the Keshe Foundation to bring this position about. We stopped a lot of programs of the Keshe Foundation in China, in Arizona, everywhere else, to finance this, because this is more important. This platform for us is a game changer for the foundation. The employment, the factories, the cleaning of the atmosphere, the energy, the space technology, everything has put on hold in the past 5 months to get this completed. And our bankers knew, and we had a huge problem with our banking system, blocking, stopping, investigating how an organization like Keshe Foundation has managed to do such a job. Our bankers foreclosed everything for us to monitor how a known, well-known organization like Keshe Foundation has managed to raise a nation's capital as an independent organization. We need that to be done. We need that to be completed today. I thank you very much for it. And I hope you can help, and you can donate, and you can lend the foundation the money within the next few hours, that we can get this process completed. Those of you who are in the background know exactly what you've done and how you helped us. And those who are at the front end, like in China, know how you have suffered with what we had to do with the stopping of the banks and everything else, blockages of the movement. The investigation was Central European Bank to see how organization like Keshe Foundation has made such a move. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for allowing to bring about the change. We are not asking to donate us. We're asking to lend us the funds. We return it to you on a completion. Thank you very much. And I hope we get a response back from you. Those of you who have the funds to be able to do it just understand there is a need, and there's a type of need, and the need for the foundation to do that bring the changes is today. I'll come back to this again. We keep an eye on the monitoring of the funds that we receive, and we'll see what you have taken from here has brought you back to us to be. Thank you very much, Rick. Where you have to make the donation is on the screen, or you go to the Keshe Foundation donation button. Keshe Foundation account in Holland as an NGO is there. The PayPal is there. We prefer you to send directly because PayPal takes us time and it creates a lot of delays which we don't have. Thank you very much. Going back to the teaching. Pardon?
I was just wanting to mention that if people do have trouble with, some people do have trouble with the direct bank transfers, and there is a donate button on the upper left corner of that web page. And when you click on that, then it takes you to the ability to use PayPal or with a credit card. So just that option is there, but you have to actually click on that small donate button in order to access all that.
Thank you.
And I see there's people already have sent their donation. Danielle in the chat here mentions donation sent. So you're getting action already, at least, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. We need to raise 150,000 euro today. Pay 10 cents for the teaching of 10 years per session, and then you might have worth that more. Thank you very much, Rick. As I said, we never come back, but this is so vital for change of direction and course in Keshe Foundation. Either way, it's your foundation, it's what you run. We are caretakers. Coming back to the teaching, we've seen what we saw in the video, which has been done by, again, Lisa from Keshe Foundation Australia. Most of the beautiful videos done by her. She spent a lot of time doing it. Bring back the connection between what we call the soul of the man, the physicality of the man. What happens to the body of the man in the dimension of physicality? What do we get? Why and how do we amalgamate the fields, the processes, the understandings of life after death in a physical condition? We bury it, we burn it. We do all sorts of things with it, and a lot of things happens to it. We put it in a coffin. We do the same. We kill animals. We consume the cells of the body, which each one has a soul. We interact with the dimension that the central control is not there, but the part of the physicality, the soul of physicality is there because the amalgamation of the work of it together created the soul of physicality. We send an animal into a slaughterhouse in Australia. It gets cut up to different pieces and is frozen. One part goes to the United States, one part goes to Europe, one part goes to Africa. And the physicality of the one body spreads across this planet. But as we said, in the dimension of the magnets, Once you establish a magnetic field, and every magnet has connection with all the other magnets, because when you put a magnet in the center, everything moves. These parts, these sections, are still in a direct way have connection to the soul, which led to their creation and there led to the containment of that soul till the whole thing was in part and alive. We, as beings of consuming packages of energy, one of us will get the one part in Australia, another one of us gets the same animal's part in South Africa, and another one of us in New York, and somebody else in Moscow. What happened to us? We have shared the physicality of one, but we have connected to the soul of one too. If this is something you cannot imagine, go back to the grain of rice. Go back to a grain of wheat. We cultivate this grain. We harvest maybe 50, 60, 100 grains from it. And in the process of the industrialization, each one of these grains ends up in one part of the world. There's no difference if it was animal or the seed or the grain. When it comes to one point, what happened to the souls that we consume? Soul of the grain, soul of the cells of the body of the animal we consume, soul of the totality of the human race which consumes it. And then what happens with the physicality of the body of the man when we burn it, when we bury it, or whatever else we do with it? What happened to the worm which feeds on the body of the man? What happens to the energy of the fields when you burn that body in a fire? You change the dimension of the physicality when you burn. What happens to the souls which made that body? Then you come to one point to understand. We have been eating from each other's souls and adding to each other's souls in all dimensions of the physicality, in every dimension. We are all inside and outside each other. We are all connected. We fed and we feed through it and with it in the coming time. We need to understand the need for one point, that do we need to consume? Do we need to kill to consume? It doesn't matter, we call ourselves a vegan, a vegetarian, I'm a meat eater, I only breathe air. We still in a life to take something from it, to extend another life for a small period of time in the process of the creation. Where does man go with this? Where do we bring ourselves to be and to understand? Rick, one of the heads of the Keshe Foundation, is in the panelist. Can you bring it up? I don't know why she's not there. Ruthie is in the panelist. If you can, she somehow has gone down. She should be in the top panelist.
Sorry, Mr. Keshe, who should be?
Wang Lin,
Okay.
she should always be in the panel. She set up the Keshe Foundation. So
Right.
she used to be all the time. I don't see her.
Yeah, I'll bring her in. Thank you.
In the process of understanding, in the process of evolving the science, the knowledge, then it comes to understand what is the problem with us. What is the problem with us that in the coming time, in the process of what we call understanding, we have not understood what we have done, what we do, what is the process, what is sitting in there, and how we can change this. Where do we go? Where have we set? Where do we sit with this problem, with the whole structure of field transfer, energy transfer, with understanding of the totality? With being there to bring that change that we don't need to consume. Because we think we consume and that's it. But don't forget, at the time of death, we become to be consumed. Goes back into part of the teaching. We care where we go, but how we feed our children, what children we create in the dimension of physicality and nation soul. But we have to care what happened to our body after the point of death. It's not just something we bury in the ground. It's not just something that it burns and becomes part of another dimension of energy. When you die, do you want your body to be transmuted and transformed into energy that everybody else can take from it, or to become a rotten things and maybe the skin left? With a new understanding of dimension of the work of the soul of the man, man can decide in what way his physicality will take to be given to spread, be it part of his knowledge, part of his strength, into strength field of the universe that become useful to enhance, to be the reason for upgrading, elevating another soul. The condition of the teaching of today is not just what your soul does. What we said, you can bring a condition that surpasses the dimension of physicality, and the physicality become within the soul, as now the soul is within the physicality in the brain of the man. Then you decide what energies are not needed that can as energy to dissipate in the dimension of the universe, that it become useful, become applicable to the others to live with and be part. We share knowledge, which is more or less information in a dimension of magnetic field. It has no tangibility. So, but it's given and we use it. The body of the man at the point of death has to become like a knowledge. Not to be consumed, but to be taken for what, who needs at a time. The teaching of Keshe Foundation is not about what happens to your soul and when the soul can take over the body and be free. You become responsible for preservation of the physicality within the soul when you take over. When the body comes to the point of transmutation, you become responsible for it. You are responsible for it. Now you understand where the teaching has come and how it sits. Now you are responsible what is released by that physicality, that it become useful for elevating the soul of another, to love, to give it love. Then you don't need to die. You don't need to leave a physicality behind to rot, to be burned. Then you understand the point of what we call death cannot exist. Man will live forever. Not for meager 50, 60, or 10 years or 100 years on this planet. This is what we are responsible for. This is what we become responsible for. Making sure that the physicality at the point of departure of one dimension leaves enough that citizens, be it the animal, be it the planet, be it another dimension, become useful for it to elevate its soul. Where still the dimension of physicality can be created when the soul allows for the physicality to manifest itself in the dimension of environmental field district. You care about your children. Now, with the knowledge you have from today, you have to care what physicality fields you leave behind. You cannot go into the park, have fun, and then throw litter and rubbish all over the park and go, just because you've been there. This is what you do with your body today. Bye-bye, soul is gone. Litter the body on the planet. This is where the understanding of the process of transmutation and elevation of the fields does not matter in the dimension of the plasma, you call it soul of physicality or soul of man, comes into it. When one is electron and one is proton, and one, as you know, we say in the world of nuclear physics, that one has 2,000 times more whatever compared the weight or mass or size of, and then you can reverse where you change the mass to the size and you get a bigger mass, and then they can collectively field force balance each other. When I understood the process of the creation of the soul of physicality and soul of the man, to me it was fantastic. As a nuclear physicist, one was proton and one was electron. A transmutation, interfusion of one into the other to take over became very simple. We are, as human race, nothing but an atom. A glorified atom of hydrogen with one proton inside and one electron outside, or one electron inside, cocooned inside the proton, or an electron which is ready to be released by what we call principal division, fundamental elements to what we call the electron to be released, and then it becomes an atom. We are that hidden atom, where our electron, which is our soul, is within than being outside. In a way, we are that fundamental element till we create a condition to release that electron, to go through that what we call nuclear decay. Then we leave the physicality behind, and the electron becomes free to fly and create new orbits and itself a new cycle. We cared about our body, how it's dressed, how it's perfumed, how it's looked outside immaculate haircut, shoes totally clean, but we do not care what happened to it when that electron flies out and the division comes and you're left with a piled up mess. You call it the human remains. We don't care what happened to it because deja vu does not exist in that dimension. So, bye-bye. I use your physicality to elevate myself. Now I go because you had no respect for me when I was inside you as a soul. You care about your children. Now, with what knowledge you have to care about your physicality. You cannot litter the universe and the planet with that remain for somebody else to clean up the park. And it's not the process of what we collect in the park, we put it in the dumpster and we just take it to a plant, we burn it or make a fertilizer out of it, as it goes in the coffin and becomes something else, somebody else. We have to understand and to respect the condition of that physicality, not in its dimension of the soul, but as a dimension of itself upon departure or separation, or by understanding that there cannot never be a separation. Does not matter which part of it is and which part of the world, the universe, is still connected, and you respect it and you keep it to be there. You cannot be fooled one day and a menu dead. This is not expect and respect for the physicality which you took so long to train it, to elevate it, to bring your soul to perfection. Then it matters for man not to have to come to the position of after death, because death can never happen if you understand the transmutation and elevation of the soul of physicality or the soul of the man. Then you live the life of the Creator. Then you live the life cycle of the universe. Next time, when you look at your body in a physical condition, you look at his beauty as a young man or a woman in a bathtub, or you enjoy his dimension in the ocean, swimming and showing his beauty, or as an old man walking with a stick in the dimension of the streets or in a wheelchair. You have to understand what is going to be the future of this physicality. How can I preserve it to become a lover to serve and not to be served? How can I be there forever to give, not for a while and then become a litter on the dust? When you look at the physicality of the man up to now, you had no respect for. If you're Jewish, when they bury you, they don't even bring you a flower. You don't spend money on the dead. If you're a Muslim, you do all the hullabaloo and the celebration of and mourning of. If you're a Christian, you go to the church, and either way, you dump it on the ground. It's gone. There's nothing to do. And we are so good at it that we say we put it out of sight. We bury it because we could never understand what we could do with it. We did not respect it. We did not allow it to learn the process of the interaction with its soul, that it will never get to that position. Most of the reason we bury our bodies is we're ashamed of what has come to become. The president 1 minute eaten by the rats or the fox or the worms in the coffins the next day. We have to bring to understand that the physicality of the man is a collection of the souls. You cared about your soul. You cared about the soul of physicality. You have to care about every cell that has made and has a soul, the collective soul of the man. Then it comes to one point. If you understand this, would we become one piece in America, one piece in Africa, one piece in Australia, one piece in China? Or we become the radiant lamps of the lights that what we have, in a way, siphoned through the cycle of life, become energy to the others to take what they need from. Man, dimension of physicality should never finish. Man, dimension of physicality should never end. Is man who has not understood it, and it has littered this planet for thousands of years. We have to teach this to the animal kingdom by elevation of the soul and understanding. You don't take animals to school and university and give them degree Professor Cat or Dr. Dog. We elevate the soul of the animal that reaches the understanding level soul in how to look after the physicality, because that soul is as intelligent as our soul. We said before, when you look from distance on this planet, you don't see the soul of a king, a president, a farmer, a dog, or a cat. You see lights, knowledgeable lights, because they have created a condition of knowledge of existence in the condition of this planet, in the condition of the universe, in the condition of the galaxy. Next time, when you see a hearse going down the road with a body in it, next time you pass a cemetery, just think, what's going to happen to that body? And do I want mine to be in that position? Steal, rob, and go when the time comes. Or give it to what I need. I gathered what I need from it. I'll escape with it as a soul and live the physicality in the hand of whatever needs to be done. We come to understand the cycle of life has to preserve to be correct in all dimensions and in all physical conditions. It has to be in the process of understanding the totality and not the individuality. It has to be understood that we need to bring the condition that we have, we should, and we care about our physical life. You take it to the park for a run to look good, to be perfect, to be everything that you wanted to be when you're looked by another admirer. 6 packs, hair done perfect, dress to the polished nails and everything else. What about when you leave that physicality? You're responsible for it. It's part of you. You created it and created you. Now, you cared about your souls. Now you understand the creation of the soul. You're responsible for the physicality after what you call, if you cannot control death. Departure, separation, understanding of the totality. Then, as we said, as man elevates his soul and understands, we will have no prisons, we'll have no courts. And if man understands this, we'll have no cemeteries, no crematoriums, and nothing else, because we have nowhere to bury this. because it respects and it does what it needs and gives what it needs. You can direct it to be the knowledge to one, to be the knowledge to another, to be a lover to one, and to be essence of creation to the other. But the same soul, the same physicality. You are responsible for it. You are born to create the soul from it, but when you made it, you have and you must have responsibility for what is made. When you create a juice from using a machine, do you throw the machine away because you got your juice? This is the abuse. This is, then we look for fountain of youth, everlasting life. If you understood, and in the teachings in the past, I explained many times, you are responsible for it. Now you're responsible to understand with the litter you leave behind. It should not be there. When you go to the park, you're well-trained, you're mannered, you collect your rubbish, you take it with you. You don't leave it in there. How come you leave your body on this planet and pull up? You train yourself what to do, how to spread, how to develop it to be useful in the next cycle. And you decide about it. When you pack up your food pack, you decide where the plastic cup goes, in which bin, and where the paper goes in which bin, and which bin will take the leftover of the food. But you don't respect and consider what you're doing with your physical life. Once you said bye-bye in the physical dimension, where it should not be there because we said bye-bye, because we never knew we can use the soul to preserve it, to be with us. A soul of the physicality and a soul of a man, from the moment of interaction, establishment of the first emotion, should be inseparable to the time of the creation, not to 10, 20, 50 years on this planet. You are responsible for it. You have to understand how to do it, how to learn it, how to interchange between one and the other, that both become the preserver of the other. We have an electron and a proton. The existence of the electron is to keep the proton in position, and anything it leaks out as energy is captured by it, and it can feed it back, that both can exist. But we have not learned this about the life of the man. We leave it behind as a litter, where it should not be, where it's been taken so much to build it, to put it in such a beautiful order, that it has to become the process of life, the process of change, the process of elevation of the other souls through its field and interaction of its field. Life has to mean life for eternity. And now it comes to the point of understanding, it comes to the point of the teaching that we have to, we must do, and we have the obligation to understand this. Would you allow, when your soul expands to bring in the dimension of physicality, your physicality to die within it? Would you shoot yourself in the foot and want to run a marathon? This is a marathon of the life of the universe. Then we understand. Then we come to understanding the position of the elevation of the soul of the man is not just for you to be free. You become responsible for preservation of the soul of physicality and the physicality which he has accepted to exist within. Then, whatever man dies of any diseases or any disorder, it's very much. Sometimes we drink the water, sometimes we swim in the water. Sometimes we are within the soul, and sometimes the soul is within us. It's us who has to decide which one is the pleasure, what time, and what purpose. It becomes essential for all of us to understand this process. It becomes essential for all of us to be the part of this process, to understand the totality, to be part of that totality which brings the change to all of us. I have made the man in the image of myself. I have managed to bring that change, to become that process of change, to be in understanding the totality of the change. We have to have respect, both for the soul of physicality and the physicality, because the physicality is amalgamation of the souls, which their interaction and collection of the work creates the dimension of the soul of physicality, and the interaction with the dimension of the environment gives it physicality. And then at the same time, the collective soul interaction creates the soul of the man. Where does man go? Where does man sit with this knowledge? Where do we understand what we need to do to get to this point? We need to be able to elevate not the soul of the man, not the soul of physicality of the man, but the physicality of the man in a dimension of the time, position, and place of his manifestation. That in all dimensions, it becomes that beautiful being. Does not matter where on planet Zeus, on the earth, or anywhere else, where we see the beauty of it. Where in the dimension of universal community, we don't become, oh, these are from planet Earth. When they finish with the physicality, they dump it literally around the universe and they go somewhere else to see what they can create somewhere else. They have no respect for their physicality. How do you expect to have respect for their own soul? Now you understand. You are part of the universal community, and maybe in your village, you could spit, you throw the litter on the corner on the dusty street, and that was it. The wind will take it, and dust will cover the mess. Now you have moved to a city, to a place where you cannot spit on the street, and you cannot throw your litter on the street and walk away. You are responsible for what you do with the dimension of physicality of it. We need to understand this. We have no choice. We've been brought to the level of understanding of the totality in all dimensions and not only in one. Both the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man. You are responsible for three entities, not just for one. Feed it, enjoy it, and dump it literally when I'm gone. It's the totality of the knowledge, understanding, and it's the totality of what we call comprehension of the total need for understanding of the totality. We have to bring that change about. We have to bring that change for ourselves. We are not doing it for somebody else. It's our body. We created it. What do you do when you see your arm cut off, is on the floor? You walk away. Oh, I used it. I don't need it. Instead, I'll make another one. Or do you pick it up? You try to stick it together. You try to get it to work. You try to get it to function in all dimensions. It's us who has to understand the work of the physicality, the work of the soul of physicality, and the work of the soul of. When you go to a new dimension and you want to put the soul of physicality out, would you create a physical body which is in acid and it burns and is pain and is suffering? Or would you change the strength of the soul, that it changes the strength of the soul of physicality, that you create the body in that atmosphere, in that condition that is perfection and beauty? But you don't take from the environment what you need and dump the rest. You share. You share from the soul of physicality with the environment that allows you to create that beautiful physicality to enjoy the environment. You are responsible for it. You are more than responsible for it. You have an obligation to it. You have to understand where we are and how we live this physical life. We become that process. We become that understanding. We become that respect in all three dimensions. And then we understand how much, to what level, to which way we are sitting and being able to create that dimension in all three. Now, we had hit hard, and you have to understand it. And you have to be able to be part of it. We need to be able to bring that change to ourselves. We need to bring that to ourselves to be able to transfer the knowledge from all dimensions. Does not matter if you're in South Africa, in Moscow, in London, New York, or anywhere else, where the pieces of the animal or you, which is spread across the planet, carries the information to the dimension of the soul to serve, not in the dimension of physicality, but as energy fields of elevation of other souls. It is what you have become aware of. And as I always said, you are responsible for it from today, because you know from today it's not going to end up in that coffin. I'm never going to be there. I'm never going to go on that pile of wood to be burned, to become dust and ashes, because I decide I have respect for what I've created and what has created me. And it'll never be in that pile of wood, and it'll never be in that box and in the coffin, because I look after it. Do you dump your mother or your father once you're created and you manage to become successful, and dump them? I've got nothing to do with them, even they being my creator. How come you do that with your body? Now you are responsible for all levels of it. Now that you know, you cannot litter the universe with the physicality of the man once the man goes. It's in the writing of Allah clearly. You cannot transfer a body for them 1 hour from point of death to the burial, because he never understood that body should never exist to be 1 hour. And at the same time, if you die in planet Zeus, should not Earth become the cemetery of all the human race across the universe, that they bring the body home to bury? Today is 21st of April. It's what we call the first Reswan, the beginning of the Baha'i New Year. But have they understood at all what they are talking about? Or this is another, what I call, amalgamation of nothingness. Nothing has changed with what they call the new messenger, because the same problems carried on. It became ideology, not a religion. You have to understand, you cannot become ideology. You have to understand the process of creation. That you don't become a litter, that wherever man dies in physical dimension in the universe, send them back home. Burial ground is Earth. We won't have enough space on this planet to bury our dead, because now they come from all over the universe. It's not just if you die in Tehran and you're American, we send the body back to New York. How much body do you want to bring from across the universe back to Earth to make it a burial ground? Worst burial ground that man ever known. There should not be a burial ground. Earth should be the beauty as it is, where everyone comes to enjoy, not to dump the litter of the physicality of the man across the universe. The teaching of today is for you, for the first time, to consider what next with my physical dimension, where if you understood it, there is no never next, because it's always there and it's part of. There shall be no death. There cannot be death if you know how to transfer. I stayed on this planet for thousands of years. Never died. Just transmuted. From an old man to a young child to a newborn, another cycle, and then another cycle. The soul is the same. Change of the physicality. From the Moses to Jesus to Muhammad to rest, to the first man to another man, a nomad, a man in the mountain of Himalaya, all is the same soul. And that's why when the father says, wait till tomorrow night, I tell you another story, because he said the story tonight, he knows what's inside. Next night, he uses the same inclination and the knowledge of the last night to tell you this new story, what's going to be in the next night. what Muhammad promised, what Moses promised, what Jesus promised. It's the same soul. He never dumped the physicality. The same as you never found the body of Christ, because there wasn't physicality. Last week was the Christian Catholic Easter, and this Sunday is the Orthodox. What happened to the soul of the Christ in these 2 Sundays? 7 days in the land of nomad? Or is it again creation of man for his own ego from different needs? Ask where your soul has been, what process it has gone through. Which soul is it made of? How come it elevates? Today you had a chicken in the morning for breakfast, a chicken nugget. Lunchtime you had a lamb roast for lunch, and dinner you had a steak with rice, and had bread with your lunch, and you had whatever potatoes in the morning in different shapes. How many different souls have you consumed during the day in the dimension of physicality? Then you understand. Man does not need to consume. Man needs to be a giver and not take. The logo of the Keshe Foundation is very clear. We are here to serve and not to be served. It's not the waitress job. It's the service to the elevation of the souls. We are not religious. We are not God knows whatever. We are a scientific organization. We try to understand the science of creation, the science of knowing. As a guy told me, you talk very good, but you can't show anything in physicality. Show me you can do it in enhancement. It means you haven't even understood the process of the creation, let alone you need the machine to be seen, to be shown. Put energy system in the market, then the Keshe Foundation will be believed. Magic of Christ was his elevation and transmutation. There is no magic because you're so well educated that no one can create your magic. You have to understand what is the real process that it looks like in magic. The reason of creating all these processes, even when we ask for a donation and setting up the thing, is through the process of cleaning up the process, elevating the soul of the water, creation of the other things, we can bring that process. It's not just the man who gets the enhancement machine, it's the animal and the tree gets the same elevation through the process that the man creates for the elevation of their soul, that they reach the same elevation as the man. The process of setting up the CO2 absorption, the process of setting the enhancement units for farming, is not for you to have the better harvest, because you always look at your own pocket. Is that to start the process of creation of elevating what we are responsible for on this planet in the dimension of their physicality, that, as I said, when the Messiah comes, is heaven for every creature and creation. Messiah has come and is for the elevation of every existence. But we hide it in the containment of the water, we hide it in the elevation or absorption of CO2, we put the water in the rivers and the seas that the fish gets elevated in dimension. So now you can understand, I've done a very good job. The elevation of the soul of the planet will bring that change. It's no use when the man knows what to do with physicality, but the lion still kills, and the plant opens its mouth to capture a fly. The process of the teaching of Keshe Foundation is to bring the fundamental change in all dimensions. Then you understand how, as I said, I've taken you for a walk, not only changing your life, by producing gases, by developing the new enhancement center for capture of CO2, and then using it as a fertilizer to enhance the level of the plant, not for your harvest, but in a way that you don't need to eat me. I'm here, you can radiate my fields to yourself and absorb it without ever consuming. I become that orange, and you are the water, the salt water, and the gases which you have contained in the skin of the man. Now you understand how simple somebody who knows the knowledge of creation can walk you through to do what is needed to be done for the whole creatures of this planet, and not just for the man. This process has been going on for billions. It won't change overnight. We build the places to absorb the CO2. We come with the technologies to change the fields into masses of small stars, we call it the gases, to change the totality. The biggest question for mankind will be, what would in the future this planet will look like? When the plants are there through their souls, the trees are there to understand, if I'm here, that tree there needs more space. So I shorten myself a little bit, let him grow, I can always exist. How I can cut myself that it shows its beauty and not my existence. Don't the trees do that? Don't the shrubs do that nowadays? But now we bring that essence that they no need to take from, but they become the giver by taking what is given to them in the dimension of their need. Then you understand what it means. I made man in the image of myself. Not in the image of the soul and the physicality, but in the image of correct understanding and sharing and giving and taking what it needs from the environment of our existence without messing up and littering about with mine or the others which I consume. Life should not be starting on a table of luxury and what I call a flash of a toilet. That table of luxury of food should not exist, nor the system that you have to flush. In so many ways, what man has not understood is the initial process of life. When you see the mother drinks the water, converts it to milk, feeds the child with the love of the mother in that milk, and that milk becomes food for nourishment of the physicality of that child to grow. The process of the creation of Mitra and the daughter is the process that how the life of the man has to be. How the process of the creation for man across the universe has to be. As we always said, the creator is the creator of all, and man, converter of sin. And that conversion comes by the level of understanding and knowledge. In the coming time, mankind will come to understand life means life from now to eternity. From now to the point of understanding the whole understanding. We need to understand this process. We have to understand this process. We have to become aware of the totality, not part of it. Up to now, till the beginning of teaching of the Keshe Foundation, you were locked with the soul of the physicality. You call it whatever and whatever. Now you became aware of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality. Now you're responsible for what makes the soul of physicality and the soul of the man to exist. You cannot use it and then dump it. The only symmetry left for the body of the man should be in the memory of those who became in touch with that man. And nothing more and nothing less. There should be no symmetries. There should be no criterion. There should be nowhere that we have people, we imprison our physicality, and there should be nowhere where we judge it. As he has to be judged by himself, he has to find his own place, and he has to be there for eternity. Now, you thought you traveled to the dimension of the soul of the man in an enhancement unit. Somebody will be outside knocking on the door. Excuse me, sir, what are you going to do with the physical part you left in the enhancement? What are we going to do with the next guy who wants to get in? There's not a dumping ground. We haven't opened a new cemetery inside the enhancement unit for you to elevate your soul and leave the physicality behind. Or just take it and dump it somewhere else as it suits you. I brought the knowledge of existence right to your understanding, right to your emotion of understanding. You're responsible for that finger, you're responsible for that ear and that eye. Sorry about the interruption. I've just been informed that in past half an hour, we have received over 15,000 euro as donation towards the 150,000 to the bank and the paper operation of the Keshe Foundation. We need more to be able to achieve. In understanding the totality, now we become responsible for not only our soul, not only the soul of physicality, but for the physicality itself, which led to the creation of it. Did Christ leave a litter behind? So what should? Going through the transmutation was complete. Formation of the soul, no litter left behind. We have to understand the whole process, the full process of the creation, and not just the part that suits us and is to our benefit and is in our advantage to be. What do we do in the next level? What do we achieve in the next level of understanding? What are we responsible for? As in all your prayers, you say, the kingdom will come. But the king is you. And kingdom is the serving of the soul of physicality, and physicality of the man. You have no other kingdom. You have no other responsibility except for what has created you and what has brought you to this level of understanding. There shall be no kingship except kingdom of the man in all three dimensions. As your soul of physicality as a king, as the soul of the man is the same king, and the physicality of the man has to be the same king. That is one which was totality. And there is no difference in that dimension with the life of the physical man and the creator in that dimension. Don't forget, there must be a soul, and there must be a soul of physicality. That is, physicality has become the dimension of the universe we see and we are part of it. So, in a way, the soul of the creator, the soul of the physicality of the creator to be the universe, and the manifestation of his physicality to be the man. They all live the same thing. I made man in the image of myself, as I am the same in all images. Doesn't matter the soul of physicality, or the physicality of the manifestation. We need to understand more where we come from and where we are destined for. And how do we create that condition of what we call manifestation, to be manifested in the dimension of the soul, to be manifested in the dimension of the physicality, or be manifested in the dimension of the soul of physicality. Which level, which strength we want to operate, but at all time we have to be fair and correct with all three dimensions. Now the process of what I call totality, understanding of the totality, starts from today. Your responsibility is not anymore your child, your husband, or your wife. Your responsibility is the embodiment of your creation. What is going to happen to it when I'm gone? Or am I leaving it behind as I'm responsible for it? And if we become responsible for it, I'm responsible for its elevation, and I'm responsible for elevation of the others who get elevated by it. How do you want to be remembered? In the books of the man who wither and get destroyed, in the dimension of the soul of physicality of the man, or in the dimension of the soul of the man, whereby the soul, you'll be remembered by all created in the universe. But in the soul of physicality, you're just observer and participator in the soul of the man and the physicality. Or just in the dimension of physicality, a king and a crown 1 minute, And in a dumpster, the second, as you're dumped in the deepest 6 foot, what I call grave, and it cannot be seen, to remember, I did not even respect it. It's away and it's gone. As I said once to one of the world leaders, how many kings and how many queens and how many souls in the dimension of physicality have lived and buried, and we don't even know where their burial ground is. Does man need a burial ground? Does not matter on earth, in space, or in the dimension of his own existence. I hope I open your eyes to a new dimension. I hope I open your eyes to understand that I don't need to give you an enhancement unit to show the proof of the technology. I don't need to make something to show at least the thing works. The thing has to work within you, within the structure of your soul and physicality and your life. And the rest is there to elevate those who have not managed to understand that part. Thank you for today. I hope we open a new chapter in understanding, and I hope it becomes easier for you to understand your own existence. We'll go through a break, and then we come back to answer any questions. Meanwhile, please support the foundation that we can reach that 150,000, that we can bring that change for the dimension of physicality of those who cannot bring that change for themselves. In time, we will be adding to the knowledge of the man. But man needs to have to his own knowledge by itself to the dimension of the soul. But hands down to the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man, and connects with the other souls of the universe, that it becomes a part of the universal community. We will not have international gathering of people from all nations. So in the universal community, we have connection of all the souls together that they make that universal community. We celebrate all the time and not in a specific times. Thank you very much, Rick. We take us through a break and then we come back.
Okay, very good, Mr. Keshe. We'll have some videos here. I'll start with the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit, and we'll have several more videos and be back in about 10 minutes.
The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres.
The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, here we are back at the 429th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 21st, 2022. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to start the second part of the show? Not able to hear you, Mr. Keshe.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you.
Sorry, I just had to go off and come back on. We're back on, and we hope we can share more knowledge and understand with, in a way, understanding the totality. We have just been informed that donations are continuous to coming in, and we still haven't just passed about 10% of what we need. We're looking for large donations or money to be given to the foundation to be returned on completion of this work. We ask not to be generous. We ask to bring that change, help us to bring that change. And that change comes through staying independent, as we've done for 20 years. And we have bowed to no government and to no structure. And we have kept the whole thing the same way for the new expansion and changes in the Keshe Foundation. Are there any questions that we can expand?
Okay, first, as usual, I'll let the attendees know they can put up their virtual hand, and then we can open your microphone so you can speak. You see, we have a number of questions in the various chats here. Let's see. Let's start off with you. Why you? You in live stream has a question. Is my train of thought correct if I relate the soul of the GANs of plasma, the soul of physicality, to the nano-coated plate and wire, and physicality to the zinc plate?
What do you mean?
Let's see, so it seems to be saying that the soul of physicality would be the nano-coated plate, and the physicality would be the zinc plate. Is that a way to relate them?
Depends how you look at it.
Well, he goes on to explain a little bit.
You see, if you look at it, when we look at the nanomaterial, nano-coated, the soul of the element is outside. The nano-coating is that soul of physicality, and the physicality is the copper inside.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because that soul of the thing which keeps the whole structure together in the nano layer is outside, controlling the inside, but is at one piece with that piece of copper. It has a length, it has a length, it has a dimension.
Exactly, and he goes on to say, if so, does that mean in order to manifest the soul, a wide gap is needed between the two plates because it has a higher strength order and so more spaces are needed? But I think maybe the gap is in the nano coating is where the where
more
that
or
would
less,
manifest.
yes, if you look at it that way, yes. If you look at it that way, yes.
We were talking even yesterday in the plasma group about the nano coating and the way you talked about making nanocoding for example, the inside of a reactor, where it might take a month of steady nanocoding to provide the numbers of layers to give the field strength to be able to do the job, basically.
Yeah.
So in that case, a wider gap or more space is needed for that job, you might say.
It's one of the options, it's one of the possibilities, yes. It's one way of looking at it. Any other question?
Okay, something more down to earth here. Stefania has a question in the chat. The Italian group asked me to ask you how to make ask you to make a clear announcement for the donations. Which is the direct way for the foundation to have money directly, to explain again the fast way to donate?
Send it through a bank to the Keshe Foundation in Holland. The account is on the screen. You just, because you're in Italy, you just need to put the amount, the Keshe Foundation, and the IBN number, which is NL. That's all you need to do. This is a 3-step process for European banking. Because we all work on a SEPA, and SEPA is straightforward. Name, account number, and the amount. And it says just put your lending or you're donating to the foundation. We need to raise this one today to be able to take to the next step. Independent foundation for our work, so you stay independent.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
But we'll be able to bring that change, both for the environment, for people, for space technology, and everything else. Any other question?
Okay. We have a question from Jan in the YouTube. Can we use a GaNs-based beta decay process to create a beta voltaic battery with no hazardous side effects of radioactivity? How to produce GaNs of K40 and deposit it on a nano-coated wire?
If you can do it, yes. One of the first papers I wrote, I became like alchemist of the past. I thought, if I let this knowledge go in the total understanding, then it can create a problem that some people will grasp it and use it to abuse the others. And I start writing the abbreviations with a sequence that I knew what it is. Like, instead of putting potassium, K, I put Ca, but I knew this is for the next one, so you cannot decipher. If you read some of the very, very first papers I've written, it needs deciphering because I use what they call the coding system, because I didn't want nobody to abuse no one. If they understood it, they were clever enough, they would not do this. And chemist picked it up. He said, Mr. Keshe, do you know chemistry? I said, yes. He said, in this paper, you have put Ca. I said, yes. He said, it means you don't understand anything about chemistry. And I looked at him. He was a Belgian. He was the first guy. When you look at that blue reactor, which is in the exhibition somewhere, we've shown it before, he was the guy who gave us the facility to build that first reactor. He said, you're a nuclear physicist, but you don't understand chemistry. you put here calcium. I looked at him and I said, you think I'm that simple to give you the full lot? That then you can abuse it, because his target was to build the energy system. And he said, I cannot work with somebody who doesn't understand chemistry. And calcium does not have these properties, but look at the calcium, potassium, and the others. How you look, if you put, you could decipher. A lot of my writings, early writings, needs deciphering, understanding the code. And yes, you say you want to use potassium 40, but have you understood how to create that potassium 40? Do you need, with the knowledge you have, to create potassium 40? Or the answer with that. With a new knowledge, I was looking at the video from the, what do we call it, the research center last night. We have managed to create the heartbeat of the soul of the man. And in that process goes back to knowledge, extended knowledge of the totality, how to create that heartbeat. You create the heartbeat of the man with electronics. We have created the heartbeat of the soul of the man with plasma technology. And did we use any potassium 40? Did we need to create such a condition? Did we need to go that far now that the knowledge has come so forward? When you sit in the enhancement unit, I'm not interested in your leg being short. I'm not interested if your eye twitches. I'm not interested if you came in with a cancer. What I'm interested, I deal with the boss. Let the boss decides what is needed to be done with the soldiers. Does the soul of the man has decided, I'll have that leg short, that I get enough attention that I can absorb the soul. Now I'm elevated. Does my leg increases by 2 inches and I'm not short anymore? Or I have replaced the interaction abstraction from the beginning to the end by elevation of the soul. On the other hand, do I need an enhancement unit to reach that? If I can tap into universal energy and do it. We don't see people from the universal community walking around with an enhancement in their pocket or in the back of them towing along, do we? And then if you understand this, watch some of the videos you see 1 second a person and 1 next second you don't see. How can you elevate your soul rapidly to cover your physicality if it's in the time of danger, and then bring the physicality and then walk away? Now we have the technology, we can see the recording of these things. And some people say, what happened? No, it shows directly he's not from us as a human race. Go on the internet, there are many videos like this. And now we have the capability to record. Then you understand exactly what I've been teaching. Scan the internet for, there are a few pictures from the traffic cameras that you see a car in an accident and there's no guy, and then the guy gets up and walks away as nothing happened. Then you understand when I tell you 1/3 of our population are travelers of the universe. Now you can check it, you can see it. And how do they manage to do? Instantly, the soul is aware of the physical damage, converts into covering the physicality, and then back again to physicality. Exactly what the Christ did, resurrection. How can they do it? How can we just say it's a magic on the videos? How many times can be magics? And if there are so many magics can be recorded in so many different situations, then by God, now you understand. We've been amongst you longer than you think. We become you that you don't even recognize us. Just go on the internet. And then does this guy carry a quota of potassium 40? Does he need it? Or his soul coming from another position in the universe, in interaction with soul of physicality, has taken the shape of the physical life on this planet, which is the body of the man, if he decided to be in the shape of a man. Maybe some of them are in the shape of a tree, and some of them are happy to be a lion or a cat. So the dimension is understanding it, not just trying to create potassium 40. Understand the knowledge, the application and implication of the knowledge. And then we see how fast we can move to the next level. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have Moshfaq with the hand up here. Let's go ahead, Moshfaq. And we have Nikolai after that.
Regarding this fundraising effort, would it be possible to redirect the fund from Keshe to this for this purpose?
Yes, it can be used, but there is no problem. But we go through the process of the present situation. We can add those to it. There is no problem. You can donate your coin or say my coin to be used till it can be returned back. Is no problem. You have to keep a record of all the coins you have donated for. And tell us which one you want to name, because there are many people bought new numbers of these coins.
So, so in order to redirect, let's say, the funds from the Keshe coins, so what is there a procedure?
You just write to the foundation, I want my coins to be a donation or to be used for this purpose and returned. And okay, you date it, which coin, which date.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. The process of raising, we are reaching nearly 20,000 at the moment. And we need to go further to complete the process. If you have, you can do, but you think, I don't want to give it away as a donation, lend it, register as a lend it, and the foundation will return it to you back. Any other question?
Okay, Fried had a question about that. I'm not quite clear. It says about the donation or lending. Is there an option by way of the purchase of the Keshe coins for an immediate transfer or as a temporary deposit?
It's the same. You decide. You can buy the coin and say it's a coin, but use the funds for it. It will be done so. We have raised millions to get this facility sorted. It's not pennies. It's a process which we told you during the past few months, what is to come, because we work on that basis. Any other questions?
Yes, if Nikolai, if you could go next, that would be good.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, Rick.
Good.
Thank you for another teaching today.
I hope we didn't shock you that you're responsible for your own litter.
Only a little bit. My question today is, what is the soul of the man? Is it a principal star?
It's both, depends on what position. If it is there to be the receiver, it becomes in transition of what we call the end product. If it's there to become the giver, yes. But don't forget, in all dimensions, the soul of physicality, the soul of the man, and the physicality of the man, they play both. While we're giving, we're taking. Once you love a partner, you love back. And the more you love back. And it depends on position, time, place, and emotion. It's the emotion which is the most important factor in connection between all three. Go back to the very original health teachings. We continuously refer to the emotion. It's the connection, it's the field which has no dimension, but has connection between them. The emotion of love, when you love your child, when it rises in you, then it shows us with a cuddle, with a kiss, with the physical interaction. So the emotion has brought that physical dimension into it. It's the same with the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. The emotion which transfers the dimension of the knowledge or information between one to the other. Nobody hands a book. This is I don't have a receipt. This is the receipt for me. I gave you 10 love and I gave you 15 love less. It's that what we call emotion, is that carbon in the structure of the connection of the field of the man in an amino acid. And this is why, if you go to all the teachings, I said the emotion of the soul, the emotion of the physicality. Soul has an emotion because that's the only way through that field of strength, we call it emotion, that connects itself to the physicality. That the physicality through the same emotion connects itself to the physical dimension of the man. There is nothing more important in the cycle of the creation than the emotion. What we call emotion is transfer of the feeling, transfer of need, transfer of giving. We created the word emotion for it. But in fact, is connection between one dimension to another, one strength to another strength. If you put a 240 supply with 120 supply together, it explodes. But if you put a transformer inside, you play with it, you can feed both into the system. That system is emotion. Both can coexist, both can come and go. You put a plug at 240, you put a transformer, and then you get 110 out. We call it a transformer. In the cycle of the life of man, we call it emotion because it fits to the two, it communicates between the two. We put a booster, we change 110 to 220. It's the same. That's, again, we call it emotion. Man has chosen too many words for the same thing, but in principle, in different levels, that we understand it, which side it goes, when we call it the transform it to do with electric. When it's called emotion, it comes to dimension of physicality, but it's the same thing. It's the same dimension.
And when we go one level further to
What
the
do you
soul
mean?
of the creator, is it in the same way?
We came from it. How can it be any different? There is another emotion between the soul of the man and the soul of the creator. It comes from it. The soul of the man comes from the soul of the physicality, and soul of the it comes from the amalgamation of attraction of the physical body. We are again also is that part of one cell of a physical body, which then again interacts, interconnects, and the rest of it.
So when we feel the emotion,
Emotion is a connection, how we fit into dimensions. When you have an emotion, something is what you love, in the dimension of emotion of the soul of the man, it has to have a connection. What do you love? So physicality must have recognized it and made a connection with it. Otherwise, your soul or physicality cannot just walk around with your lover all the time. Because well, what do you love? How do you love, fall in love in the level of the soul and not in the level of physicality? What happens there? Soulmates, soul lovers, understanding, connection with. Do we reach to the level that we create fields which we are capable to do in the level of falling in love with the creator? Yes, we can. Many of them. All the what we call universal messages come from that source. We are translators of the emotion of the creator. But we are created from the source, which is we are part of this initial understanding of the creation. We are another, as I call it, you call it, transformer in the work. We are used to 220 to 110. We are the one which is from 1000 to 220. Any other question?
oh, many. But thank you. I leave you there. You've opened the doors again for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We had a question from Doug McDonald, about if Mr. Keshe would like to update us on the condition of the core team member.
Still the same. It takes time. We have another core member in problem at the moment. And we hope, it's two of them now, hope we both go through it. And it comes, we're all aging. We're all aging in the dimension of physicality. Or he's one of the youngest core members. And it will take a process of time. And the thing is, he has to accept that change. We understand the reason he's got there, but he himself has to understand the relation of soul to accept that position. And we have now another knowledge seekers with the same problems in the past few days. Any other question?
Okay, let's see here. We have a question on amino acids from I can't even hazard a. I'll try Ekatepna Kupnyova. I believe it's a Russian name. Please help me to understand what Mr. Keshe says about amino acids. In video 103, One Nation, One Planet from February 4th, 2020, Mr. Keshe says, in the vessel, you don't see amino acids because the soul of the creator is going up. You feed on the energy of amino acids to lift up the soul. So the question is, did I understand correctly that if we don't see the amino acid on the surface, then that amino acid is being used by the soul of the creator of this reactor?
Yes, in a way, yes. It's the way the plants work. You hardly see the fat on the leaves. You hardly see. There are some plants that if you stand back, you see the amino acid floating on the surface of the leaf, but they're not on the leaf. They transfer energies. There are one or two, what you call plants, especially in Africa, you can see sometimes. It's very much like you see the mirage, you see it on the surface of some of the leaves. Which means the amino acid does not have the strength to attach, but it has the strength to be within the vicinity. It's like another nano layer, not sitting on top of each other, but being distanced, but connected in feeding the field. And then once you created that amino acid, you don't need to create the next one. That amino acid there becomes a converter of the energy from environment to the leaf, and it stays there in that position. Most of the plants, when you look, the amino acid layer is very close. You think it's the leaf, you touch it, you feel the oiliness. But in some plants, it's so strong that it stays off it. You see it by the shimmer on the leaf. So you do not need to be attached to it. You become the receiver of energies.
Okay, the same person has another question about the use of salts from the electrodes in the reactor. At a conference, Mr. Keshe said that salt is used to contain snake venom. Are there other uses for the salts?
Salts are the essence of the connection of conversion. Yes. Yes, there. And it has many, 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 many applications. It has many, many applications. It has numerous applications. Salts are intermediaries, and the salinity and the strength of that salinity, the mixture of that salinity, dictates the manifestation of the matter state. If you have let's say, salt of magnesium, salt of potassium, salt of calcium, and salt of sodium. One is 1, 1 is 3, 1 is 2, 1 is 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4, let's call it. This combination will give you the cell of the inner part of the heart, inner wall. Now the first one becomes 1.1, but the rest will stay. Now this combination fits to be the inner cell of the kidney. Even the lymph distributes the same energy equal to everyone. Your lymph system is a mixture of fields. When it comes to the salinity, converts to the element which is going to be. So it's a gravitational field. And then the biggest question comes in the world of the creation: what controls, what creates the salt itself? What creates that salt? What becomes the initiator of the creation of that salt? And then it comes to the point of in which part of the body, which strength, which emotion, which direction dictates the salinity and change of the salinity. That one becomes the middle and the outer layer and the inner layer of any structure. We are created by the dimension of the creation of our own strength, by our own understanding and know more. So when you speak about the salt, try to understand the totality of the concept and how it's made and how is controlled and how is decided. I always said, if you go into the game of lottery, they give you 49 numbers and you choose 7. You need about 14 to 18 million combination to get it right. What happened now if you change it to 8 numbers to get right? What happened now if you have to get 10 of 49 right to win the jackpot? And you got to get it right every time. You set up your skin changes in the same position every 28 days, the same color, the same thing. If you had a scratch on it which damaged it when you were a child, it's still there. You say, look, I had this scar when I was a baby, I'm 50 and it's still there. So it has to have the memory of the salinity for that cell in that position to manifest in the dimension of its physicality and the change. And if the body makes it over so many times, it becomes part of its structure. Your child will have the same spot on the same place. Your child might miss it, but your grandchild, oh, look, he's got the same spot in the same place as a dad or grandpa. Yes, because you remember the salinity. It's become part of the memory of the gene of the soul RNA. Then we understand more and more about the process of the creation. Then we have the understanding of the totality of the creation. then we need that understanding to become, in principle, to understand how even interaction of magnetic fields leads to creation of a gravitational condition, which we call it the salt. If the body of the man, through interaction of the fields, can create magnetic field of the salt, doesn't create the salt, creates magnetic field of the salt that creates that cell, with the present knowledge that the knowledge seekers have, you should be able to do it too. If you notice, we changed the name of all the Corona team to knowledge of a nation. Keshe, Brazil, knowledge team, which means you possess that knowledge now. It's yours, it's within your culture, it's within your language, because you shared it. British cannot read the Portuguese, but they have a translator. But would they get the essence of the translation when they translate it? Or is it just some words to read? But the Brazilians, when they read the same, they understand the emotion of what that word means. We speak the language, we don't understand the language. 99% of the people I come across, they tell me you're an Englishman. Because in a very small way, living in England for such a long time, I understand the culture of the language. Not like a German, I don't read the words in the book of the language. In one occasion, the word bastard was used. And the mother, because speaking English, thinking she understood everything, says, my child is not a bastard. Why do you call my child a bastard? And then, excuse me, madam, this means he's not correct in language. Doesn't mean he has no father or father is illegitimate. But this is what it says in dictionary. We have to understand the essence of it. It's the same, we have to understand the essence of what it means to have that salt. What it means to create the strength, you don't need to have the salt there, you have the strength of the salt. In homeopathic, there are 6 salts which they say they cannot find. It's there, it's defined by the, what do you call it, developer of the technology of homeopathy. It talks about 12 salts of the body. 6, 7 of them. We know the others are explained in a very deep way. But in fact, he understood the transmutation of the energies which behave like a salt, but they cannot actually physically make it on the atmospheric condition of this planet. But they behave, they are there, but they cannot be converted into physical matter as you see potassium salt or magnesium salt. And this is what creates a lot of problem with homeopathy. It creates a gravitational field which allows that to become into. If you look at the combination of the amino acids and the salts and the level of the salinity in them as a field strength, the body of the man with all the cells it has compared to what is availability is nothing. We can make the most complicated, this body of the man with all these cells in it, combination of the skin, the heart, the brain, everything, is a speck of dust to what is possible to make as the creation in the universe in another dimension of field strength. What you cannot create, you cannot have. But in another dimension, when you can create different strength salts and variety of it with dimension, you get a different kind of creatures, more sophisticated, more elaborate. But you need to create the fields of it. And this is what knowledge seekers have to understand. This is what the knowledge seekers need to become aware that we, as what we call the process of the understanding, come to understand more in the whole process of creation. This is what I keep on saying, move away from the matter state, move into the fields, because the fields, then you understand. You create, as the first thing in this box, the field of the carbon, not the carbon. Where that field interacts with the carbon plasma in the air, with the presence of salinity of the salt, creates, with the water, oxygen, the gas of CO2. You don't create the CO2. Between the plates, with the nanolayers and then zinc plate, create the condition of the field. This was very clear. You take the same box, the same plates, put them different, and change your salinity slightly. See how your production changes. See, the color of the gases are not the same. So you produce the CO2, but in different level. And this is exactly what happens in your brain. Your brain is made of CO2 and what we call zinc, combination of field energy, becomes a structure of physical body. Why does monoxide gas is dangerous to the life of the man? If you get caught in a state of monoxide, you die. Why? What does that field strength creates in the brain cells of the man? It creates a new salinity, which connects all the things together. Everything gets mashed up, communication gets everywhere, body cannot function, it shuts down, you die. Now we understand the process. We get CO2, but we get carbon monoxide, and then we are in big problem. Why? Because the amino acid of the brain has both, but in the right combination, that monoxide fits into the connection and the gravity of the brain of the man. And voila, all gets synced into one, no communication, you die. Because you create a different salt level by changing inside the brain in the structure of the connection. Any other question?
Yes, I believe Ruthie has a question here in the same topic.
Hi, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. Good. Chinese team has a question. They're asking how the sodium chloride are produced in the sea. Is that because of the sunshine to the water?
Explain what you're asking.
He just want to know how the sodium chloride is produced in the sea.
What is a sodium chloride? Rick, would you like to bring it up?
Sure.
Food salt.
Pardon?
The salt, food salt.
Yes, I know. You see, if you look at your GANS boxes, there we are. What is it? What do we symbolize it by? When you look at this material, in the sea, we do not have combination of the elements. We have the combination of fields of the element, that the interaction of the fields with the environment creates a condition of the creation of the matter state of the element, sodium or chloride. If you look at it, we all know, we've all been there. And if we look at something very fundamental, where we have in the what we call work of the systems, where we have direct interaction of the field of the earth, or we call environment, and I'm going to go somewhere with this. It's a beautiful question, absolutely beautiful, because this might answer a lot of things to you. You ask, how is it produced? When you have the oceans, and with the microscopic nano-materials which are in the ocean, the gold, the silver, the copper, the whatever could be, create a field in the water with the interaction of the fields above, creates what we call the salt. The field strength of the salt, that with presence of the inertia of the water and the environment gives you that taste of salt. That's why the oceans are salt. Because these mixture of elements in the ocean have created that condition to create the saltiness. You can go from one ocean to another, taste is still different, even salty. But now we come to something else. We have earth, and we have a running river inside. Mono environment, from where it comes, we dig a well and tap into it, and it's sweet. There's not much salt in it. So what it means, and this repeats everywhere around the world, that's why we go to the springs. Wherever you go, you find sweet water. You drink from the springs. Very few springs are salty if they come from a source in the salt based somewhere. What does this mean? It means the amino acid which created the water, which itself is amino acid base controlled by it, does not attract the field strength of what is the sodium and chloride, as the earth layers have become a filter to it. And then, do you remember when we went to Inner Mongolia? And the Chinese government wants to get the salty land changed. It's a lot of calc and salt on the land. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Do you remember that what they said, 30, 40 centimeters below the surface, the water is sweet, but the land is salty?
Yeah.
It's the same process. The land absorbs that salt, which in the sea becomes part of the water. You need to change the environment above the land, that this layer of land does not absorb salt and allows the salt to go, as the water does not carry, it goes to a lower level. That's why we created that process that we said with the Chinese, what they call it, authorities in the Mongolia when we were there. This filter of land, this layer of land in that 30 centimeter does separation of the salt which comes from the atmosphere. So it's the combination of the metals in the land which dictates the absorption and creation of the salt. Which salt? You understand? It's a magnetic field strength absorption. Then, due to inertia, that converts to grain of salt if you dry. That's why you have a sea salt, because you have converted the gas into a matter state through the inertia of the water and the environment. You and I have been there, we've seen this in the Mongolia. So it's the filtering, it's the way the color of skin creates different salts inside. We have a different skin color, we have different behavior because we have different muscle tissues. You're Chinese, one is European, because your salt salinity is connected by what is absorbed from the environment and converted in amino acids. The sea does not add salt into. The sea creates its own salt according to the interaction of the materials which are available in it. And that creates a gravitational field of the salt in interaction with what is underneath of the ocean and what is within the ocean that creates the salinity of water. In some part of the oceans, we get the magnesium salt more than the others. We get different fishes. We get different understanding and creation. You can do the same in your enhancement units. You can do the same in your CO2 boxes. You create the field of the salt and you can produce salt of potassium, sodium, calcium, anything you like. And if you create a condition of the magnetic field of the chlor, you get the same. Then you create salt. You do this if many of you looked at the wires sometimes above your gas production, you see these salts. They stick to your wire. We collect it in the lab, in the factory. The field in the box is not matching, but the atmospheric condition around the wires creates that absorption of the salt, extraction of salt from the environment. You put 10 grams of salt in your box, but you find half a kilo of salt on your wires. Because you created a magnetic field environment. Now your salt in the box is not in the matter state anymore. The salt you added into the box, due to the nanomaterial you put in, now is in a different environment, is against, is a magnetic field of the salt. And this magnetic field, the way you absorb the CO2 and amino acid, now absorbs the salt in the environment. But the situation and condition of the amino acid on the surface doesn't allow it. So it's hanging above somewhere, and your black hole, what I call nanomaterials, is a good place for it to get. And you collect salt there instead of bringing it into the water. Because you created the field, but the field become effective inertia at the point of your wires hang. Just have a look at your systems in when you're producing gases. After a while, you see a lot of salt everywhere. Say I put 10 grams of salt in there, I'm collecting half a kilo. So where did it come from? Thank you very much. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, to continue with this question, another question is related to this. If the sunshine, to match the water without any salt, is that can also create the sodium magnetic field?
What do you mean?
I mean, if the water doesn't have any salt inside it, if the sunshine just we have the sunshine also, but is that can also create the sodium magnetic and the gravitative field?
Yes, because sunshine is another dimension of field transfer. And if some of the rays of the sun are the same as the sun, the rays you have, of course it does. is added, but it's as the strength of the salt. It's very simple. You can bring that change in. If I can break through here, we just received a 10,000 donation from one of the knowledge seekers. Thank you very much. This helps us great. And hopefully we reach that 150,000 by the end of the teaching if the knowledge seekers be generous enough to support what we are trying to do. Any other question?
That's good news. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
We have passed 35,000 euro collection at the moment.
Well done. Thank you, knowledge seekers from around the world. Various people have commented in the chat here that they've made a donation, and in the YouTube and the live stream as well. In fact, one person in the live stream made 2 donations.
Thank you very much. It's for all of us. Any other question?
Yes, we've got a couple of questions from Jefferson in the Q&A, some good questions, as well as 2 other questions in the Q&A that are relevant. So let me start with Jefferson's first question. He says, my name is Jefferson Modesto. I'm from Brazil. It is an honor and pleasure for me to be able to be here with you. Thank you very much for your presence among us. I will try to make a donation through Raphael as I don't have a PayPal account or credit card. If it is possible to answer, I have 2 questions that I consider very important. 1, knowing that in order to be part of the universal community, we cannot take the life of any being, and also knowing that most human activities, directly or indirectly, take the life of some being. That is, if we manufacture furniture, for example, it takes the life of trees. If we work with agriculture and livestock to provide food, and we take the life of vegetables and animals. If we work with mining, we destroy the land and mountains. What are the activities that we should carry out from now on so that we are acting in accordance with the ethos of the universal community and being useful to the whole community?
It is, I don't know if it's the right time to bring this subject up or have a reach point of maturity to understand this part. The children of Mitra will learn to live in both dimensions, both physicality and the soul. We have to learn the way not only to breastfeed the child, that it takes the dimension of physicality, but bring the dimension to the child that the soul receives the energies of the universe, that it learns to live within the dimension of physical life of the man, but not depending on the life of the man. The children of the man, through the child of Mitra, the birth of life will be different. And over generations will change. Where the soul is trained from the outset of the birth to receive energies of the universe through the soul. Where the soul becomes that water and the universe becomes the art. There is a technique and technology to do this, where gradually man will become independent of feeding physical life, that it gets fed through his soul. In a way, we transfer energy to the center, and from center we feed the physicality and the soul of physicality. They find peace. The physicality and soul of physicality become one, and man become peaceful creature. This process has already started. As I said back in a few teachings before, the next generations of the children of the man would not even be recognized by the man itself. It does not have that mouth to suckle on the physicality of the energy of the mother. And with it, there is no digestion, but still there is a love and bind to the soul of the mother and child. There is a glorious time ahead of humanity. You do not even understand what I have given. You cannot comprehend what gift has been given to us. The children of Mitra will never kill. And part of the teaching of today was that, if you understand. If you have ever seen fragments and pieces of the physicality of the creation and the creator, then that will be the same for the children of Mitra. We have already started this process. And partially, your knowledge seekers have already started without you knowing. And this will take time. And part of development of this technology, for what we are doing now, even collecting and raising the fund, is to create and bring that condition. The process of creating the children of Mitra to reach that point that they can live in both dimensions, but have to accommodate gradually to become in a position of universal community, not to kill and not to consume, will take over the whole of the operation of the mankind's life on this planet. And with it will bring many changes. We will not harvest wheat to eat. We harvest wheat to enjoy the color of the flowers when it's time for it. Children of the man will not be what we see today and what we see today. We enjoy the beauty of them and not the, what we call, by taking. Years ago, I used to make sure in April, May, I fly as many times as I could over the beautiful country of Holland. Around this time is when all the tulips come up. And the, what we call, Dutch farmers make a beautiful scenery of these variety, a sea of colors of tulips, and you can walk in it. You don't take it. They grow it for its onion or sale further on and the rest of it. But the beauty it creates will be the next generation for mankind. And we will enjoy the beauty without consuming, without destroying. We remember the beauty of the walking through the fields of the tulips of Holland. in our memory without actually creating to destroy to have that. We don't need to taste the lamb to kill the lamb. And I used to do this a lot, and it was a pleasure. It's one of the most beautiful things which happens. It touches your soul, it touches your emotion, especially when you fly low level and you enjoy the variety of the color, the beauty of the creation. And this is the process which many of us will come to understand, will come to, we have no choice but to come to live with. And in that process, we will come to understand a lot of things, a lot of what I call understanding of beauties of the creation without destroying the beauties. Maybe we can add to the elevation, to the beauty of the, what I call the flowers. Maybe with addition of our soul to it, we will create a new color without actually genetically modifying the energy of love, care, adoring, and the beauty we want to give. And this is part of the new cycle format. And this is a part of the cycle for totality of conversion of energies to what I call acceptance of the what we call totality. We need to understand field transformation, not matter state interactions. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Jefferson. Says, since I started studying plasma science and trying to take this knowledge to my family members, they started to see me as crazy. They started pulling away from me and leaving me isolated. My kids these days get annoyed when I talk about plasma and GANs, and one of them hasn't talked to me since last year because I tried to convince him not to inoculate himself, but he wouldn't listen. I'm afraid these substances have affected their brains. What can I do to make their souls understand that I try to pass this knowledge on to them because I love them so much and I just want to protect them? Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I wish the Creator to lift your soul higher and higher.
The process is your children are in that process, your family are in that process, because it's not on television. Because it's not on the internet the way it should be. And part of this process that we are doing today in raising funds is to bring a massive international awareness about the technology. In a short time, they'll come to you to worship you, to adore you for what you understood they didn't, because it's in the news. The process we started is not just for factories, it's not just for building things. Huge part of what we do will be international awareness of the technology and that process. Because you have to understand, they go Keshe Foundation, and somewhere down the line, they come across the pedophile nation report of Belgium. Oh, we can't be there. When it's in the news, when it changes, when it brings what it's supposed to, it's there. I was talking to Armand last night over dinner, and he said, Mehran, we have to change the perception. We have to put something out to bring the change. Then people believe us. Then we see the changes. And you don't put something substantial out to do this. You have to do this because then people understand. Part of this will go that way. Because we need to create international awareness about the technology. And then in that time, you become a student, they know more than you because they studied more, they find more. And then they say, you won't be outsider, you won't be outcast. Because Belgium's made sure we don't go into Fox. If you can get yourself into Fox, you're foxed in. And Belgium's paid huge amount of money. Kingdom of Belgium has spent millions, tens of millions to block paid bribery to the management of this organization. The Keshe Foundation never comes into light since 2012. Since the meeting with Peter Falke. We suffered for it, but they allowed us to become stronger. In a few months' time, you will see that Papa, Uncle, you are worshipped, you understood before us because it's in the news and you are fashion. You were earlier in fashion than they were. And then they can see the two things with it. In a couple of years, you don't know. You don't know anything because the new modern plasma technology is something else. Don't worry about it. I've been there, even with my own children. Just be there, just do what is right and everything the correct way. It'll come. We are there. It's part of what we are doing today. Is this international awareness of the Keshe Foundation of space technology. Don't worry about it. You know it in your soul. You know what you do is right. What you have done is right. You'll become the fashion of the day very soon. Any other question?
I think you'll find convincing a total stranger is easier than trying to convince your own friends.
Never try to convince. Let them convince themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to convince, you waste your time. Live by it. You see, the process is we all die. We all live in a physical dimension. We all get sicknesses. And doesn't mean just because you know gas technology, you can survive everything and you will be forever. If you understood the gas technology and able to solve, yes. But you're not there yet. So we have that problem. Till you become, till you're aware, till it's done, yes, then we are. Any other news? Any other question?
Got a couple of salts questions here. One was from the Italian community, how to use the salt that the cup produces. And another question in the Q&A from one of the knowledge seekers, what do we do with the salts created by the cup of man? The cups are almost closed off on the top because of the salt.
Have you created salt of the soul? That's the question. And those salts have to be immaculate, very perfectly handled. You never touch these kind of salts with a bare hand. Use gloves. Hold them in an airtight condition. And keep them in environment that can bring the condition of what do you call no interaction with matter state. Then in the future, we teach you how to use them. When you make if you keep these gases, this salt, when you make your next cup of man or cup of life, you use these salts, not the salts you take from the shops.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, question from Hassan. Good day, Mr. Keshe. Since you told us after a shower to say, thank you for feeding me, food has become easy to bypass. I tried 3 days with 3 olives just to chew, and it works perfect. I am even feeling a weight gain with very less food intake, and I feel I can stop totally my food consumption. What I want to know is how to bypass the breathing and stop the killing of the amino acid too. Thank you for all the support and presence with us.
It goes back to the same position as what we did before. That's what we done before. Then it goes to understanding the process. Then it goes to understand the whole caboodle about transformation. And then if you understand this, what we said about the soul of the children of Mitra, they take fields. Do we need the breathing system? Our breathing system is only applicable on Earth. We're becoming the man of the universe. And man of the universe, there is no oxygen, there is no air to breathe outside. So as we grow into that, we, what we call, find out that we don't need to breathe. It's the time, it's the next generation, next time that it is bringing that position. We just got to wait. We watch our children or our great-grandchildren or our grandchildren who come from the process through the birth of Mitra, structure of life, that they become that. Then we don't consume. It's not just the food. We become the feeders of the universe as much as we are fed by the universe. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. There's an important question from Daniel here in the Q&A. He says, I've come to spirituality through someone who explains it by way of quantum physics and upgraded with your knowledge since I am here, Mr. Keshe. I believe I understand exactly what you're saying, yet so far through history, it took humans the better part of their lives to reach identification and joining with the soul of the Creator. And then these Eastern practices also did not seem to understand the totality of it so far. Is there some sort of practical instruction you could give us for our meditations that would help us elevate more effectively? I have learned control over the emotions of my physicality, for instance. Should I now literally just try to dilute and join the field strengths of all my souls, merging electron and proton?
What does that mean? I don't understand.
Well, wonder if he could explain, perhaps. Daniel, I'll allow you to speak if you would like to open your microphone and explain further.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mr. Keshe, you were explaining in the beginning that the relationship of the souls to each other is kind of like the electron to the proton. And if you say we could, well, take the physicality with us by taking the soul of the physicality with us, then we need to join with it somehow. And if we think about it with the electron and the proton and the dilution of the fields to join them together again, then this is the question basically, would the process be the same again?
What do you mean by that? Explain, please.
Well, as it is laid out in the books, for example, that you could bring the field strengths to a level again where they could rejoin. Is this what you're going at in a practical sense? When you're talking about the souls as well, like in the beginning of the presentation now.
Bringing up the soul scales through the emotion and connecting them to be able to understand it is a priority for us about our own creation. We have to test and trial. Go back to one of the teachings. We showed a picture, I think a few times we referred to it, about the guru from India who came to the Keshe Foundation Center in Sano in 2014. And his station, respect by his followers, was that he fasted for several times for 20 days or something like that in his life. And he would not eat anything. We have people monitored. There's some people in India or China do the same. And if you go to the exhibition center on the first floor, as you enter, you see a meeting room with a white table. This table has come originally from the teaching table of the Sansana. This table is a table where we put the ball and it went black where they planned my assassination by the Belgians. He sat on one side of the table and I sat on the other. And the translator, he didn't want. Before that meeting, everything has to be talked through to his translator. He was too holy to speak to me directly. When he came to the meeting on this table on the top floor, he could speak English better than me. And I told him, you have to teach your followers the truth, not to abuse your followers. And I explained to him how he was absorbing energy from the environment. He was cheating his followers. He was taking energy as food in a specific way, which is not hidden to us as messengers. And I explained to him how he does it. He said, you understood my trick. I said, no, I understand your cheat. It's very simple. You can do it too. Sit upright and move your lung and your stomach in different positions. But try to hold that position for a long time. Wish you want to have water. You're thirsty. Move the breathing rate, move the position of your lung, move slightly your stomach and posture in a very refined way that you lose the thirst. Now you found a gimmick to extract energy from the environment at the level of the water because you satisfy the thirst. It's not very hard. These people are paid for days at a time to be on their own. I have to be meditating. Rubbish. I'm finding a cheat. How this time? To have the taste of steak. And I have a steak without the steak here because I move my intestine a little bit. I change the position. Don't forget the energies of the air in the body of the animal changes to meat and steak. Now you are that animal. But now you learn a trick. And if you go a step further, stop breathing. Move the motion of your body in a position that compensates for the energy which the blood needs without the lung. You can live without breathing. Physicality of the man, if you understand it, is beautiful. When you get old, you shiver, you shrink a little bit, your lungs compresses. What do you get more than anybody else? Pneumonia. Why do all people die of pneumonia? Because they lost their posture. If you get the old people to stand upright, that the lungs doesn't collapse, the energy field within the lung does not create water, then it creates its own infection, nobody will die of pneumonia. So, meditating in what way? Understanding the principle of the creation is a different. And you know what happened? People who were present, they tell you. The same thing happened when I was invited to the Vatican to meet the Padre. The skies opened up, storm beyond your imagination, because I broke his shackles of slaving man. He could not handle it. He came down and he tried to get with it. But we gave back to what he was trying to take. None of us need to eat. None of us need air to breathe. We cannot do that. There is no air in the universe. There's no cows in the universe. There's no grass to eat in the universe. By positioning, creating fields, we can satisfy. We do that. Many of you do that if you are intellectual enough in your sexual life. Why do you get Parkinson with men? Always on the right hand. We create the imagination of the beautiful body of the young woman who was our wife when she was younger, because now she's in perimenopause, she's not active, and we connect that to the cycle of our physical life, and we get Parkinson. If we can create energy of the imagination, the taste, the texture, the emotion of the young girl we married 40 years ago, we can do anything in life. Steak, kidney pie, strawberry, anything you like. And you'll be walking. It was a nice steak. This is what we have to learn. And this is the process. We don't need to breathe. And then the next step comes. When you get to that level, then you find out, where is this energy being absorbed and is feeding you? Is trained to be absorbed by the soul of the man. The sun shines within. When the sun shines on Earth, the interaction of the fields creates calcium, sodium, and the rest of it. Now the sun is within you. This is your soul. It's your soul. And with the interaction of the physicality creates anything. You can have even orange to the taste and the color and the smell you want. Where's our best friend? One of our closest friends is here. He can tell you what he did, and we always listen to him. I've seen his name. He's been here. He's amongst us today with the greatest of pleasure. Is he there? Alex from Nigeria. Have you seen him? Rick?
I don't see him on our list right now.
I thought he was here earlier on. Alex did one of the first one who did this. You don't need, you have to understand process by process to go back. Sit up. Satisfy a thirst. Satisfy by different breeding, by different race, by different ratios. And the beauty of thing is that these people can still urinate after 21 days because they already created the water in their structure. Now we understand the science behind it. And the beauty of it is now Keshe Foundation has 500 million followers around the world. Nobody can cheat you that. No rabbis, no ayatollahs, no priests. And don't forget, if the guy sits upright with a little bit twisted to the left and is getting the energy of a banana and taste of it, doesn't mean works with you. You might have to turn a slightly double right to get the same taste because your mixture is different. So you cannot copy. You walk the fields of oranges, you don't need to pick an orange. You smell it, and without the smell, and you absorb the taste of it, you become that cup. Anywhere in the universe, you can create that orange, and you don't need to get partners. Because now you recorded it on the soul of the man, and not on the RNA or DNA of the man. And this will bring man huge changes. Huge changes will come from understanding of this process. Any other question? Learn the knowledge and don't get stuck in hypocrisy. I've got to tell you one thing, if you don't mind. We have reached donation of 45,000 euros. We are still short by another 100. And thank you very much for your donations. We have reached our target of 45,000 euro donation and support from the foundation. We achieved 1/3 in past 2 hours. We need more to be able to complete today. And please pay directly to the foundation. It's much easier for us because otherwise we have delay in PayPal. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I was going to say that you seem to have cleaned up all the questions today except for one from Stefania, who is
the hardest one, that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Can you say that the emotion is like a telephone number, is attached to specific field strength? So if I want to connect to the creator, I use the unconditional love connection, like a line.
In a way, yes, but you have to know the telephone number. You carry a phone in your hand, the billions of numbers are there. You want to call your boyfriend, you have to have his right number. Maybe that boyfriend is the creator, but you have to know the strength of it. and to be at his level, to be able to contact. If you're carrying a what do you call it, home phone, you cannot wirelessly connect yourself to the mobile phone unless there is a connection. Somebody else become the intermediary to put it on the what you call transmission. A man is the home phone stuck to the ground, and you need that transition of transmission. You have to get the right strength and right number to get to the other side. ET call home, if you remember, or ET go home, either way.
So is not the unconditional love the actual connection to the source or creator? So if we follow that unconditional love, would we not be getting closer to that connection?
In a way, yes. In a way, we do it. And in a way, it is part of us which has already achieved that.
Mm-hmm. So most of what we call unconditional love is probably has aspects of conditionality to it. So we think it may be unconditional love, but it's still not the totality. And perhaps that if we were really to touch on that totality, it would be the direct connection, but it might be very rare for that to occur, perhaps.
Yes. It's not real. We have to learn and remember the number, as you call it. We have the same as we remember how we create, the actors or actresses out of nowhere that can create tears in a scene because they've been trained how. And most probably they remember the most love they have, the most painful thing, and makes them to tear up, or they get spray on them to tear up. We have to learn which way we want to tear with a spray, or we want it through the emotion of somebody we love. And when you love somebody and brings the tears from the strength of it, then you can, when you play the act, you remember the strength, what you got to do. It's very simple. It's extremely, extremely simple. Any other question?
I think for the first time in a workshop, you've actually cleaned up all the questions here. I can't believe it, but maybe there's a couple of questions in. Seems to be a German language or something here in the Q&A, but then that's just come in. I can try to translate, but we are at, what are we at? Over 3.5 hours here. I think you're probably getting close. Okay.
Let's see what the German community is. Now, I have to explain to you, German community are supporting heavily by a presentation in the enhancement, what do you call it, exhibition center. The exhibition center now has moved to 4 days, trying possibly 5 days full time, and try to come from around the world to see it. Now all the restrictions of the Corona has been removed from more or less all of Austria except Vienna. Come in and see the future of mankind, and see what is set out, what is there, and what might add to your knowledge that you take and change it into an industry and bring job, creating new dimension in your environment. Is if you walk it, you don't understand it, but the way Mario explains and the way we have Herbert joining us back and trying hopefully to do the presentations, you fall in love with the knowledge. And that's all the exhibition is for. And then you understand it. Try to make your ways this summertime. Bring your children, let them see the future, and maybe they make the future by understanding it. I was touched as a age of 8, and I brought the change. You can imagine if your children of 8 and 10 touched by the new knowledge, what they can bring for the next generation. Make it a place where we become the house of the knowledge. And then the knowledge will come in its own price tag. Can you translate, please?
The translation is a number 11981, Gregory Grabovois, the telephone number to the creator.
What?
From Steph, something about Gregory Grabovois, telephone number to the creator, 11981 is, and then she asks, if you know anything about that.
Now we found the secret of his mobile number. I thought his lover was the only one who had the number. Now we've got to tell Eve what happened to the Adam, and we've got to tell Mitra what the God's number has been put in public. I
will probably ban it. Not allowed to talk to the creator because the
it's
rules.
only. This is fantastic. Oh, it's we call it luck, but maybe somebody has got the number from somewhere. Any other question?
I just wanted to mention that we have the translation function here, and I should have mentioned it at the beginning perhaps, but right now we have the Portuguese and German audio translation going on, a simultaneous translation in this Zoom webinar. And if people go, I think it's to the more ... thing, and you can select, or in the preferences, you can select interpretation and select the language that you're most familiar with. If it's Portuguese or German, we'll have others as well coming on. And then you go to a separate room and you'll hear the translator doing the interpretation of today's teaching. And you have a choice of just the interpretation or with Mr. Keshe's voice at the same time. So just to let people know, that's a new feature we're just trying out. And there's also what's called a live transcript function, which I didn't activate today. Maybe we'll try that next time. And people can get a live, or get a recording of the transcript and actually look at the live transcription going on at the same time. It's not a perfect English transcription, but it's might be useful for some people.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's about it.
Yep.
We have one hand up here. Maybe we can finish with that. Someone, Claudia here. Claudia, do you have a question or like to go ahead?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Keshe. It's a pleasure to talk with you again.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear from
I'd
you.
like to know, in a health teaching, you said that the soul of the man leaves the body the exact moment that he must. But you said that it is beyond our imagination.
Can you repeat?
I'd like to know more about this.
Can you repeat?
Because I was a little bit confused.
Yeah, can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, I repeat.
Yeah.
In a health teaching, you said that the soul of the man leaves the body at the exact moment that she must go.
Yes.
This moment, I didn't understand what are you saying about it. You said in a teaching that is beyond your imagination.
You see,
if you could say about it, thank you very much.
Yes. Go back to the matter state. Maybe you understand better. In the matter state, the strength of the field of a magnet dictates its positioning. When you put two magnets next to each other, they create a distance gap, what we call magnetic gravitational field position. If you put a winding around one of the magnets, you can do it if you understand how to do it, and increase the flow of the fields in one of the magnets, you will see maybe the other magnets come slightly closer or move further. And you can reach to a position by creating these kind of magnetic fields, which is done for some military purposes, some industrial purposes, that the other magnet literally shoots off without doing anything to it. It becomes a trajectory. We see it in the slaughterhouses in a different shape, like a bullet, but it's releasing and attracting. Now, your solar physicality becomes that winding. And your soul becomes the other magnet. But in this case, the solar physicality has given its energy to the soul. So now the soul is energized. And when the point comes that the soul of the man's energy superpasses the blood flow cage, it takes off. And in taking off, what happens? The physicality stays behind, but the soul has gone. Point of death. Why most of us die at the old age? If you can keep the circulation of the blood and the energy levels of your body at a strength that does not come lower than controlling the cage of the field of the soul, you do not die. You can extend your life. The minute the soul of the man receives more energy as part of the information, emotion, and whatever else, and the cage becomes rusty and weak, the soul has nothing to hold it. It becomes the point of death. So our aging is by circulating less blood, feeding the soul more from the soul of physicality, dimension of emotion and whatever energy, it becomes more powerful and it jumps, it creates that, it becomes that bullet to a new position, breaks through the weak cage, which is rusty, which is the old age of the man, the blood cannot hold the circulation that is strong, then you die. Because the soul is gone, physicality stays behind. It's escapism for the soul of the man. We escape from it. We become good in doing it, and in that process, we interact, we increase, we add to it by expansion of strength. And that's how the death comes. Physical separation of the soul of the man from soul of physicality. But you got to understand, the minute this process starts, which the soul of physicality becomes slowly aware that it is losing control to the soul of the man, it transfers most of the energies which are within it, within the soul of the man, within the soul of physicality of man, and the physical energy of the body of the man to the soul of the man. So it suddenly receives a rapid field energy because it's aware, the blood flow is weak, and then the soul departs. It becomes that bullet. But that bullet, through its interaction with field strength, has already destined for a position for it to find its balance. And then in that position, it becomes, because it has no physical structure, soul physicality with it partially, it becomes a star. And that star starts a new life as in a galaxy, in the universe, as a dust in the world of the creation. In a way, you created a soul shooting star, and you have to see if it has enough at a point of arrival that it becomes the source, it becomes the beginning of the new cycle for the soul. The whole purpose of creation is to create new essence of creation, which is another star, which is the soul of the man, but not within the physicality of the man, but in another dimension. And doesn't matter how long you keep this together, you can always play it one against the other or one within the other, that you live everlasting life of the Creator. I made man in the image of myself because I become the man that within it, having connection with me, I keep total integrity and totality of integral fields of what I started with. So I don't lose anything. And this is the secret of creation. It's the secret of life in the dimension of the existence. As the Arab says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is it. This is the final, as we understand the beauty of the Creator. All the beauties are given, and there is no more. It's you who have to understand how beautiful it is. As all the beauties, Rahmat, which is the kindness, the love of Creator, is already given. It's us who have to understand.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for today. Please keep the donations and what you want to keep the foundation on. We have reached around 45,000. We need another 100 to fully be covered. We need it today, not tomorrow. In any shape or form, make a loan to the foundation. We return it. We do not open another church and another castle. We want to make homes for where people will not be enslaved, but we elevate the souls of everything in one nation, which is one man also. Thank you very much for today. And I hope we'll have much beautiful news for you in the coming days as this progress hopefully can be completed today. Thank you very much, Rick. And thank you very much for Knowledge Seeker supporting us. We still need to reach our target. Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I put the direct donation site here, or address on our screen, so you should be able to see it. And that's all the information you should need to go to your bank to make a direct wire transfer or SWIFT payment through the banking system. And that's the preferred way of making a donation, where it goes through immediately. If you're really stuck and can't do it that way, once again, there is a donation button here in the upper, just above the hello part of hello, we are the Keshe Foundation. It's a bit of a small button, so don't miss that if you can't do the direct banking transaction. Okay, and we've given that website, put that down once again, the actual donation site here in the chat so that people have that once again. And I'll put that in all of our media chats here. Thank you so much to everyone that's already donated. Fantastic response so far, and we hope to continue with that. Okay, what do we have coming up? We've got, excuse me, let me get my site back up here. We have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up. Once again, that'll be on Tuesday, April 26th. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time with members of the Universal Council. And people are invited to attend that and show your support and ask questions of that group. If there's any remaining questions, I don't think we have any this time, but if you do, you can bring them over till next week and we'll deal with them then. Okay, thanks everyone for attending today's 429th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 21st, 2022. And we'll go out with the the flight enhancement spaceship unit music version to activate our emotion a little bit there. And thanks everyone. See you in the next public workshop.
We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate